This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories.
And welcome to a video that, honestly, I feel like I should have done sooner, but the Acolyte finally pushed me to make this. And that is to say that Disney cannot kill Star Wars. I'm always just feel so much anger when I see some person who has a thumbnail in their video saying that Star Wars is dead, which is typically followed by me blocking that channel from my feed because those people are typically, although not always, because I usually don't watch these types of videos unless I generally feel like suffering for a little bit, because they just go on full hate and are never really willing to give things a fair chance because they just want to have an angry audience. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. That's just an annoyance I have. But what I do want to talk about is that Star Wars is not dead, and it is impossible for Disney to kill Star Wars, but it is very possible for Star Wars to greatly wound Disney, and even possibly it could kill Disney, although that's a definite long shot, and they would have to, I mean, like, one up themselves like 30 times from what they just did with the Acolyte probably to get to that point. But still, to look at it, what I mean by Star Wars can't be killed by Disney is Star Wars might be dead to you, but to me and to many others, Disney can't kill what we feel about Star Wars. Yes, they could go and make some terrible shows or movies. They could make as many Last Jedis and Acolytes as they want, and even though I am not going to like them, it will never destroy what Star Wars is to me. Star Wars is, and always really has been, my favorite franchise since I was introduced to it before I could even remember. In fact, one of my earliest memories is after I got a surgery while I was younger, going home and watching The Empire Strikes Back on a old VHS, and you might have any idea what that is? I'm in my early 20s, so don't think I'm that old. But I grew up at that really weird time where it was a time of transition between the stuff that our parents would have grown up with and stuff that, the modern kids today would grow up with. So I really just lived in this really, like, weird time period where it was a time of transition. And while I was still pretty young in the early 2000s, I grew up watching the original cuts of Star Wars and didn't even watch the prequels since the people who introduced me to Star Wars, mainly since my parents aren't as big of fans, didn't really like the prequels, but eventually I was able to watch them, and I, of course, fell in love with them. I went through a small phase where I just thought that it was the correct opinion to not like them, but after realizing that was stupid and I shouldn't have to listen to what everyone else thinks, I quickly returned to loving the prequels, although I could see their flaws, and always loved the Clone Wars. I grew up on Clone Wars, and I just genuinely love that show. I look past all of its flaws, and I easily declare that as my favorite TV show I watched every episode where it aired besides for season 6 since I still wasn't, although internet was very prominent and I did have a smartphone, I wasn't as invested into the Star Wars community as much and didn't use it for much other than playing games and didn't actually know that a new season of Clone Wars came out. I thought that the show just ended on Cartoon Network, but I was in absolute joy and loved watching what for a few years was the final season of Clone Wars. And once season 7 was announced, I remember being at a museum and I just remember being excited that entire night for the Clone Wars being returned to get a final season and to see an ending to the show. I truly just was so excited and I could not wait. And nothing that Disney could do would ever destroy that for me. They could go and retcon everything, they could go and destroy everything, and I will maybe hate Disney for that. I'm already very, very furious at them right now, but I'm not at the point of hatred yet. And who knows, I may get to a point where I may stop watching at least some Disney stuff because The Acolyte's the first time I genuinely wanted to turn off something that was intended for an older audience. The one and only other thing of Star Wars I've ever turned off was Resistance, and I only watched a few minutes of that. And really everything else with Star Wars, no matter how good or bad it is, I've been able to sit through it. And with The Acolyte, that's just pushing me to the edge of my limits. I am getting tempted now to want to turn Star Wars off, and that is something I never wanted to do, even if I'm watching the sequels. I will honestly just be a little miserable, but I would at least be fine keeping them on, maybe putting them on in the background and doing other stuff. But if I'm watching the original trilogy, if I'm watching the prequels, I'm making sure that I am putting my undivided attention, and the only films that I will ever give my complete undivided attention to, no matter when I'm watching them, and make sure to watch them on a TV or a movie theater if I could get to that when it's being shown, is Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings. Unless I'm watching something for the first time, then I'll also be giving my complete undivided attention. But besides those two, I will generally want to do, maybe something else while watching something, but still be mainly paying attention to that. But with this franchise, it is so special to me. It is very important, and I generally just love Star Wars. As I said, it is impossible for it to be killed for me, and I know that so many other people think the same, that no matter how bad Disney gets, if they go and do the unthinkable and what will at least hopefully get them sued by George Lucas or his estate of them making a complete reboot of the original trilogy and the prequels, I think that they would not be able to damage what it means to me, definitely, and to many other people, because Star Wars is just something truly special to us. And the only thing Disney is doing is not killing Star Wars, but killing people's faith in itself. So every time Disney goes and does something terrible with Star Wars, they're not putting a nail in Star Wars' coffin. They're putting it in their own. Is, you know what? Even if I get to a point where nothing from Disney Star Wars is good, we don't get any Andors, we don't get any Clone Wars Season 7s, we don't get any Jedi Survivors or Jedi Fallen Orders, and we're only getting terrible stuff, I'll still have so many great things from Star Wars. I'll have that incredible stuff that they made earlier, and even if I don't have that, I still have incredible films from George Lucas. I have the incredible Legends novels. I have incredible games from the Legends continuity and so many other great things. I have been greatly enjoying the New Jedi Order, although I've been taking a break from the book since I've been listening to the Lord of the Rings audiobooks, and I mean, it's Lord of the Rings, so I think that you can understand why I'm putting importance on that over a still really compelling Star Wars book. So that review's probably pushed back a little bit, but still, just looking at Star Wars, as I said, honestly, it is just such an important franchise to me, and it is to so many other people. And while some people might be done with what Disney's doing, I feel like they will at least still be fans of what Lucas did and what others did. And in fact, Star Wars is really the biggest film franchise to exist. If we go and take a look at the highest grossing films when it's adjusted for inflation, you'll see that Star Wars, the original film, as some would know it, or as many others today now know it, including me as A New Hope, is at number 2, making an adjusted just under 1.7 billion. And moving on to other positions it takes, it also has 11th place with The Force Awakens at 989 million. At number 13, it has Episode 5 at 899 million, just under 900. Continuing on again, you also have Return of the Jedi at number 17 with 860 million, and The Phantom Menace at number 19. And that is 5 Star Wars films that, when you look at all films on equal footing that have ever been released, 5 of the top 20 films of highest grossing movies are Star Wars films. If you take a look at this list, you can see that there is one Marvel film, which is Endgame, that makes it into the top 20. And if you take a look a little further down, there are far more beloved classics that are genuinely considered some of the greatest films to be ever made in general, and not just great films that people really enjoy. Stuff like The Godfather, that is below all of these Star Wars movies. In fact, The Godfather, which is one of the more common answers for what is the greatest film to ever be released, is at number 25. Still, that is very high, but there are 5 Star Wars films above that. It's honestly just really crazy. But honestly, I want to know what you think about this. Please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories.
Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.